Ghost in the Shell is based on one of the most influential manga of all time, which I've never read, and one of the greatest anime films of all time, which I've never seen. And bearing that in mind, I do have to ask, do both of them resemble an uninspired remake of 1987 film classic RoboCop? Or just this version? I mean, I'm deadly serious. In a world where the government has either collapsed or become completely irrelevant, a person who was converted into a cyborg against their will fights systematic corruption inside their own corporation whilst under constant threat of being shut down or having their memories wiped whilst trying to work out where the machine ends and the human begins. Hell, there's even a boss battle at the end against what might as well be Ed 209. But there's none of the satire that made RoboCop a classic, none of the epic violence that made that film stand out. Hell, there's hardly any violence at all. The film's $110 million budget condemned it to a 12A rating, which has limited what I imagine could have been several very exciting action scenes. And as for the philosophical underpinnings about morality, memories defining us, what does it mean to be human, and was the whitewashing controversy overblown, all the dialogue is so on the nose that I was quite surprised to find out that Christopher Nolan hadn't borrowed the script. Instead, it turns out that Spielberg had had the rights since 2008 and has resisted the urge to drown it in his trademark sugar. The film is literally dark, though. I think someone forgot to hire a lighting guy or decided to spend the lighting money on instead hiring the sides of more London buses. They certainly spent money hiring a legendary director, though, getting the one, the only, Rupert Sanders, who has directed such timeless classics as, Snow White and the Huntsman and, literally nothing else. Great move there, DreamWorks. And naturally, for a film set in Japan, based off of Japanese source material, it seemingly has no Japanese involvement in either the writing, producing, or cinematography. The whole thing seems to have been shot in New Zealand, which did mean that the geishas featured in many of the film's trailers wore physical full-head masks created by Waiter Workshop, modelled after Japanese actress Rila Fukushima. Even the opening or exploding of the geishas' heads was handled mechanically rather than by using CGI, which would normally get a gold star from me, but since they feature for less time than I've talked about them, and everything else is bad CGI, I was just left wondering why they bothered putting so much effort into something that barely mattered. There are some good things, though. The film has some gorgeous shots, but since the film is lifted off of a manga, I'm just going to assume that they were direct lifts from the source material rather than from the original or from the director's mind, so no points from me there. The characters are all stock and underdeveloped, with Scarlett putting in an amazing performance despite the inevitable whitewashing controversy that has followed this film around, but in the words of Mamoru Oshii, director of the original films, the Major is a cyborg and her physical form is an entirely assumed one. The name, Motoko Kisangi, and her current body are not her original name and body, so there is no basis for saying that an Asian actress must portray her. Even if her original body, presuming such a thing existed, were a Japanese one, that would still apply. I can only sense a political motive from the people opposing it, and I believe artistic expression must be free from politics. Also, female Japanese-American writer Yoshida has written extensively about the transmutability of Major Kasanga's identity and about the racial mystery zone that so much anime, including Ghost in the Shell, occupies. Japanese audiences, unlike American audiences, don't understand Motoko to be a Japanese character, Yoshida writes. Of course, it's different for Japanese Americans who grow up forced to think about identity in a much more tactile way. According to Yoshida, Japan is a nation of people who are almost 100% ethnically Japanese. Accordingly, the average Japanese citizen's outlook on diversity is much less influenced by pluralism than the outlooks of many Asian Americans who live in a country where popular culture rarely represents them well, if at all. Hence, many Japanese Americans may find Johansson's casting in a Ghost in the Shell movie distressing, while native Japanese observers make nothing of it. Because when asked, Japanese fans were surprised that the casting had caused controversy, as they had assumed that a Hollywood production would choose a white actress. They felt the appearance of the protagonist was immaterial due to the franchise themes of self-identity and the blurring of artificial and natural bodies. All in all, Ghost in the Shell is a dull, predictable 106-minute long slog with a few good performances and visual shots, failing to save it from stagnation and being forgotten immediately. I have no idea why it was made or who it was made for, and neither does anybody else from the state of the box office receipts. Just skip it. But what did you guys think, and what's been your favourite adaptation of a graphic novel to screen? Comment below, let me know. I'm Daniel, this has been A Dunking. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.